Okay, in this demo, we're going to look at how to create a levitation photo. The things that you're going to need to do this will be a camera, a tripod, a person or persons, and a stool. The first thing we did was we took a safety kind of image of the background. The second image we took, you'll notice that it hasn't moved at all. We've got Mia here standing in the middle with her arms up, looking up. And the third here in the same location, we've got Mark on the stool, arching his back. And we gave him a little bit of direction in the next picture to kind of pull his feet up a little bit. And then this third one, he's looking over at the camera because it's uncomfortable to lay on your back on the stool. So I think we will use this picture of Mia and this second picture of Mark. Open up the background image in Photoshop. And there it is. See, we've got the background photo here. So now we don't need to change anything at this point. We just want to bring in our second image. So to do that, we're going to go File, Place Embedded, and navigate to the photo that you want to use and hit Place. You can either hit Return or the checkbox. And there it is. Okay, and if it's not selected by default, make sure you select that layer. You can rename these layers. We'll call this Mark, and we'll rename this one. Click the lock to unlock it, and we'll name this one Mia. Okay, so right now we want to mask out the stool here on Mark. So I'm going to zoom in so we can see it a little bit better. And we're going to select Mark and then mask him out of the background here. So in order to select him, we need to have his layer active. So I'm going to click on that layer to make it active and choose any one of the selection methods. For this, I'm going to try the new version of Object Selection Tool and just draw a box around him and see how good the artificial intelligence works on Adobe Premiere. And look at that. Pretty darn good. And so I'm going to zoom in even more because I see that we've got a little bit of the stool here and I don't want that included. So at this point, I'm going to refine my selection a little bit, and I can do this multiple ways. But since these are pretty minor things that I just want to add or subtract to my selection, I'm going to use the Lasso Tool. And with this tool, I have a couple of options. I can either create new selections, and all of these options are up here. This is create new selection, this is add to my selection, and this is subtract from my selection. There's also shortcuts to doing this. If with your tool selected, if you hold down the shift key, you'll notice a little plus sign gets added next to it. This means I want to add to my selection. So that's holding down the shift key. If I hold down the option key, see that little minus, it gets added to the icon. So this means that I could take away from my selection. So right here, I don't want this part of the stool. So I'm holding down the option key and I'm going to draw along the edge here what I want to subtract from the selection right there. And I'm going missing a little bit. And then if I just close that loop, there we go. All of that got taken away. And I realized I took away his left arm, so I want to add that back in. And I took away a little bit too much here. So I'm going to hold down the shift key, and you'll notice now I have a little plus sign, and I can add to the selection. Notice how I'm starting inside the selection. Now here, I'm going to just add his left arm. There, it's in the shadow. Come down, go along the contour. I don't want that part of the stool, so there we go. It took away that stool. This is added to the selection, and I can move around the rest of the, oops, I've got some here. So back to the Lasso Tool, option, hold down the option key to just select what I want to take away or to add back into my selection. And I'll move around. And most of this looks good. I could add this little bit here. Shift will add to my selection. And that looks good. This looks good. Let's see. And we'll move down here. It's okay. We could do a little bit better. So I'm going to take away this little bit here, just kind of selecting what I don't want or what I do want added. There we go. Sometimes people can get a little disoriented with this. So just think about what is active right now. Everything inside these little marching ants is active. So that's part of the selection. And if I want to add to it, then basically you kind of hold down the shift key and then draw a shape around what you want to add. And there it goes. It just adds to it. So now I'm ready to mask him out. And I can do this a couple ways. I can use the select and mask tool, or I can just jump right to a mask by clicking on the mask icon in my layers panel. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And there he is. So you can see it added a mask, and the black is hiding everything on this layer, and the white is what's visible, what we had selected, Mark. So we had him stand exactly where Mia is so that we could move him around and the focus wouldn't change, and it looks like she's levitating him. And I just grabbed this move tool here, to the shortcut is V, and to move him around. Now, when you're composing your shot, you want to think about what's gonna be in your shot. It would have been better perhaps if we had him in a space like this where there's some negative space and you can really see him because he contrasts the background a little bit better. Here, he competes a little bit with the tree behind him, but that's okay. And of course, the move tool allows us to move him around. We can also transform this by grabbing the edges of our selection here, and I could rotate him if I want. I could scale this up by pulling on these edges, and that makes them much bigger, right? Which is a little strange, but you can transform your selection in any way. Transform the rotation, the scale, you can skew it, whatnot. So we're just going to have him be like that. We'll put him a little bit at the top here. And, that's the basic approach. To really refine this and resolve it, you would probably want to, depending on how close your subject is to the ground, like you can see she's got a pretty strong shadow here. We could add a shadow to kind of make this even more believable, but he's pretty far from the ground, so that shadow may or may not be a factor. And I'll create another demo for how to create shadows to enhance the believability of your images. So the final step here would just be to save it as, you want to save the actual Photoshop document to your cloud, give it a name, and call this Levitation. That way, on Monday, when we look at how to create shadows and add shadows, we can just open up our work and have access to all our layers and all this work that we've done, okay? So I just want to save it as a Photoshop document for now. When we're finished with it, we will save it as a JPEG to complete it.